Ray believed there were two kinds of people in the world, those who protect and those who deserve punishment. He never imagined his own daughter would force him to question which one he really was. Ray lived a quiet life on a worn-down street in a neighborhood most people forgot about. Every afternoon, he sat on his porch with a cigar and a cup of coffee, watching the world move past him. To strangers, he was just another retired man. To Tiffany, he was her father, her protector, and the only family she had left. Tiffany had grown up faster than most. After her mother passed away, she became more than a daughter. She became a caretaker. She worried about her father's health, his medication, his habits. She hated the cigars. She hated what they did to him. But Ray believed some habits were worth keeping, not because they were healthy, but because they reminded him he was still in control. That afternoon, Tiffany left the house to pick up her father's prescription. As she stepped off the curb, a car rushed past her, close enough that she felt the wind brush against her skin. The driver slowed down, too slow, watching her. Tiffany waved it off at first. People drove crazy all the time, but the feeling stayed with her. Inside the pharmacy, she tried to distract herself. She walked the aisles, read labels, waited for the prescription to be filled. She didn't notice the man sitting in his car outside, parked directly in front of the store, watching her through the glass. When Tiffany left the pharmacy, the man approached her. He was polite, soft-spoken, apologetic. He said he was sorry for almost hitting her earlier, said he just wanted to make sure she was okay. Tiffany tried to brush him off. She told him it was fine, that he didn't need to follow her. But he did. Not rushing, not grabbing. Just close enough that she could feel his presence behind her. Her instincts told her something was wrong. When his hand touched her shoulder, instinct took over. Tiffany fought. She screamed. She tried to run, and then everything went dark. When Tiffany opened her eyes again, she wasn't in the street. She wasn't in a hospital. She was home. She felt sore, dazed, confused. Her father stood nearby, calm and composed. She tried to speak, tried to remember. Ray asked her if she was okay, if she was feeling better. And then she saw him, sitting in a chair across the living room. The man from the parking lot, tied up, bruised, bleeding, very much alive. Panic rushed through her. She demanded to know what was going on, why that man was in their house. Ray didn't raise his voice. He didn't seem angry. He smiled. He told her she was safe now, that the man was a guest, that everything was under control. That's when Tiffany realized something far more terrifying than the attack itself. Her father hadn't called the police. He hadn't asked for help. He had handled it himself. Ray looked at his daughter with the same calm expression he always had. And in that moment, Tiffany understood. Her father didn't see a criminal tied to a chair. He saw a problem, and he believed problems like this deserved to be dealt with. End of part 1. Tiffany stood frozen in the living room. Her home felt smaller than it ever had before. The man tied to the chair shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between her and her father. His breathing was shallow, panicked. Ray noticed Tiffany's fear immediately. He told her to sit down. He told her she was safe, that everything was under control. Tiffany demanded to know what was happening. Why the man from the parking lot was tied up in their house. Why he wasn't in jail. Why the police hadn't been called. Ray listened patiently. When she finished, he spoke calmly. He told her the man's name was James. He told her James had been watching her for weeks, following her routine, learning her schedule, waiting for an opportunity. James shook his head violently. Muffled protests pushed against the tape on his mouth. Ray ignored him. Ray said some people didn't deserve second chances, that the system failed too often, that monsters learned how to hide behind rules. Tiffany told her father this was wrong, that he was crossing a line. Ray didn't argue. He simply asked her a question. What would have happened if I hadn't been there? Silence filled the room. James thrashed in the chair, trying to speak. Ray removed the tape. James gasped for air and immediately began begging. He said it was a misunderstanding, that he never meant to hurt anyone, that Tiffany was overreacting. Ray asked James a simple question. How long were you watching her? James hesitated. Ray didn't raise his voice. He simply repeated the question. James finally admitted it. Weeks. Tiffany felt sick. James insisted he never touched her, that he just liked watching, that it helped him feel close to someone. Ray's expression didn't change. He asked James if Tiffany was the only one. James avoided eye contact. That's when Ray knew. Ray told Tiffany to go to the kitchen. She refused. Ray told her she didn't want to hear what came next. She stayed anyway. James began to cry. He said there was another girl, a younger girl, a girl named Cindy. Tiffany's heart dropped. James claimed Cindy was safe, that she was alive, that she was being taken care of. Ray asked where she was. James gave an address. Ray knew it was a lie. Tiffany begged her father to stop. She told him they needed to call the police, that Cindy needed help, that this wasn't justice. Ray prepared dinner. The three of them sat at the table, James tied to his chair. Ray ate calmly. James watched every movement Ray made, terrified. Ray explained that fear made people honest, that hunger broke defenses, that time revealed truth. Tiffany couldn't eat. She watched her father like she didn't recognize him. James finally broke. He admitted Cindy wasn't at the address he gave. He admitted she was scared, alone, waiting. Tiffany stood up. She screamed at her father to stop. She told him he wasn't saving anyone anymore. Ray stood too. For the first time, his voice changed. He said if James lived, he would do this again. That monsters didn't stop. They learned. Ray told Tiffany he loved her, that everything he did was to protect her. He asked her to trust him. James cried. He begged Tiffany to help him. He promised to tell her everything. Tiffany realized something then. This wasn't about justice anymore. This was about who her father had become, and who she was becoming by standing there. Tiffany grabbed her phone. She turned away from both men, and made a decision that would change everything.